Hello, it's Brenda Wood, and today I have a special treat. I am here with Terrance Leftridge, and he is Mr. Unstoppable. Now, this is not an incarceration story. This is a story about positivity, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Terrance, and just tell us a little bit about what you do.
Well, thank you, Brenda, so much for allowing me to be on your show today. And I'm just going to correct you because you said it's not an incarceration story, but it sort of kind of is. And,
Okay, I'd
and,
love
and,
to
let,
hear
and
it.
let me just explain why. I'm an accountability coach. I'm a four-time author, and I'm the host of the Unstoppable Stories show on Facebook and YouTube, where we talk to ordinary people with extraordinary stories. And I mention that because I don't have an extraordinary story. Now, you may find that hard to believe, but the fact of the matter is that on average, many of us walking, eating, breathing, and going through life day by day, we don't have any extraordinary story. We haven't had any tragedy that has rocked our world. We haven't had any debilitating disease that has knocked us down. We haven't suffered any loss of limbs or anything like that. We've just lived an average lifestyle.
That's
But
true.
Brenda, if I were to tell you that I, for most of my life, committed a crime, and you looked at this beautiful face, you probably wouldn't believe it, right?
No way.
Well, let me tell you, I have. The only thing is, this crime, you can't find it in any law books. You won't find it in any courthouse. But I dare say, if I ever were to go in front of a judge and they were to pass sentence on my life, the charge would be, Terrance, you are guilty of the crime of living an average life. You
There's
know,
nothing wrong
it,
with average.
there's nothing wrong with average when you recognize that excellence exists. And see, that's the difference. Many of us settle for average because it's too hard to try to be excellent. I didn't say perfect because, as far as I know, only one person ever walked this planet that was perfect, and that was over 2,000 years ago. I
Amen.
said excellent. And we were talking, you and I, we were talking offline. We were talking about marriage and longevity. And one thing you said is that people find it too hard to do longevity now. We live in a world of instant gratification, and sometimes excellence takes time, or average can happen just like that.
That's true.
And that was me. I graduated from high school with honors. I went to college. I graduated. Well, let me back up. I didn't even graduate at the time of college when I was offered my first job. I was 3 credits shy of graduating, and I was offered a six-figure income from a company. I said, well, I haven't graduated yet. They was like, we don't care. Come on. So I left because it was like that. And so what did I do? I fell into that average role of getting an education, getting a job, working that job, hoping you get the gold watch at the end of it, retire, rinse, and repeat. Everything about it was average. But in each and every job, Brenda, there was a yearning right here. There
Right?
was something burning inside. I thought it was
You weren't
indigestion.
satisfied.
Right. But it wouldn't just go away. I took antacids, I took Pepto, I took Tums, and it never went away. And then I finally realized that job, maybe it was that job. So I left that job. So what did I do? I went to another average job. I got a good government job working for the county in the city of Chicago. Worked that job for 10 years like clockwork, could do it in my sleep. Got up, brushed my teeth, cleaned my face, went to work, worked 8 hours, came home, ate dinner, went to sleep, got up, cleaned my face, brushed my teeth, went to work. Wait, you know what I'm talking about, over
Absolutely.
and over and over for 10 years. Now, that burning was still there. It would come up every now and then. It'd keep me up in the middle of the night, but no, trying to figure out what that was the hard thing to do. The easy thing to do was what I was already doing,
Right.
living an average lifestyle. But here's one thing that happened to me, and whoever is watching this broadcast, if you're honest with yourself, either you have had this situation or you will have this situation where you're going to come to a defining moment in your life. What was my defining moment, Brenda? It was March of 2008,
What happened?
where 4:30 in the afternoon of working my average job that I had been working for 10 years, that average job that had got me my first home, that average job that had paid for my wedding, that average job that even paid for my midlife crisis luxury car. Whole nother conversation. March 10th, 2008, my job no longer wanted me.
Mm.
And they said, your services are no longer needed.
What a hit in the gut.
Hit in the gut, the face, the jaw, everywhere. I was tore up from the floor up. I was angry. I was confused. I was embarrassed. I was angry because it came without warning. I was confused because I had no idea what I was going to do next. And Brenda, I was embarrassed because for the first time in my married life, I was unemployed.
Mm.
Now, the little backstory about that, I met my wife in 1999 on an island of Cancun. Neither
Beautiful
one of us
place,
from
I've been.
Cancun. And I chased her for the next year and a half before we went on our first date.
She was
Three
worth
months.
chasing.
Yes, she was definitely worth chasing. 3 months later, we were engaged. A year later, we were married. I took her from her hometown of New Jersey and brought her all the way to Chicago. And that's where we were. That's where we stayed. And that good government job allowed all of that to happen. But now, for the first time, and we had been married for 6 years then, for the first time, I had to go home and face my wife and tell her I was fired from my good government job.
Wow, what a letdown.
Yeah. And it was a whole new feeling because, again, I had lived an average lifestyle. Average lifestyles, they don't go up and down. They just keep going just like that. Just like
No excitement, and if there is,
no
it's very rare.
excitement, no heartbeat. And that
Right.
one was like, whoop, like that. But it was a defining moment that led to an unstoppable decision. You see, I had to overcome that embarrassment. I had to overcome that confusion. I had to overcome that anger because I had to do something else. And guess what? That burning came back, and it didn't just stay there. It came up a little higher, and it was in my throat, and it went up to the back of my head, and it was all up in my brain, and it was saying, what are you gonna do now? And I remember Brenda, I'm spiritual, not religious, but I have a relationship with my creator. And I remember going out in my backyard of my beautiful house that good government job helped me get. And I just had a conversation with God. No, I'm lying. I didn't have a conversation with God. Me and God, we had an argument, Brenda.
I've been
I
in a few of
looked up
those with
at
him.
God and I said, God, what the hell are you doing? I said, I need you to change my situation. I need you to do something that turns my situation 180 degrees around because where I am is not where I want to remain stuck. And Brenda, he gave me just one word. You know what that word was?
Had to be unstoppable.
Unstoppable. But guess what? The word is actually 3 words in one. That's just how powerful God is. He will give you one word with 3 different definitions. So let me break it down so that it will forever be broken what the word unstoppable means. And let me tell you, I spell the word unstoppable a little different from the norm because I'm no longer average. See, average person would spell unstoppable UNSTOPPABLE. No. Unstoppable in my world starts with the UN. And the UN, you know, we think of UN, and we automatically think of the word not. What are you not able to do?
Right.
What are you not able to have? Where are you not able to go? Who are you not able to be with? Why are your finances not the way you want them to be? And that automatically jumps us into the second word, stop. It's all those things that you know that you do not have at that point that are stopping you, keeping you stuck in your tracks, keeping you looking at that proverbial red octagon in your mind. And it mentally, physically, emotionally, financially stops you in your tracks. But what I love about those three words in one, Brenda, is the last four letters, the ABLE, able. You see, while most people are focusing on the things that are stopping them, I teach people how to focus on the things that they are able to do in spite of what's stopping them. When you
That's a
focus
great way
more,
to focus on that.
yes, when you focus more on what you're able to do and less on what's stopping you, that's when you come and become unstoppable. And that's what I talk about. In that moment, he told me that because he is unstoppable and I am his child, then by default, I am unstoppable too. And from that moment on, I believed that no matter what circumstances come in my life, I can overcome them. Why? Because he's unstoppable and I'm his child. And that makes me, and more importantly, that makes you and every one of you who are watching, that makes you unstoppable too.
Very, very true. I am a believer, have been for years. I lost my light for a little bit. I know you know that story. And for those of you watching, I had the chance to meet Terrance actually through Facebook and on a Get Up Unity Summit. And he never once condemned me for my past, and he knows it. And now he's
No.
sitting here trying to better my life by being in it and talking about being
Yes.
unstoppable, and his coaching services to others. And he's led me to other individuals who've been incarcerated that I can help put on the show and tell their stories. And he's also going to speak in an event here and do a breakout session in Kansas City in June. So he is unstoppable because he's very positive and he cares about people. And I want to make sure that everybody knows to get on to his page and look at his stuff, his material. He's very outgoing. He's very genuine, and you got to come hear him speak. Just got
Yes. Looking forward to it. And you just said something. I really want to make sure we emphasize that to your audience. I didn't judge you by your past. Why? Two reasons. Number
to
one,
past.
we all got a past.
That's right.
You know what? There was a song, people who live in brick houses shouldn't throw stones. It's so true. Because your past compared to my past, I might want to trade my past in and get yours. That's just because we don't know what we don't know. So that's number one. And number two, the one thing that I found through my own experience and through the experience of working with thousands of clients and talking to hundreds of people on my shows, my Unstoppable Story show, is that your past doesn't have to define your purpose.
That's right. That's right. But you
Then,
can learn from it and make become
yes,
better from it.
right. And sometimes the only way you get to your purpose is by going through your past. You
That's
can't
right.
grow through if you don't go through. And some of the things that you went through probably weren't fair to you at all, Brenda, but I guarantee you there was a reason and there was a lesson in everything that you went through that has prepared you for this moment of you walking in your
Absolutely.
purpose.
I was in the corporate world for 25 plus years, and I went through cancer. And if I'd have stayed in that job with the way my immune system was from chemo and radiation, I probably would have a very, very, very poor quality of life right now. And
Wow.
by being incarcerated and the Lord stopping everything that I was doing came to a screeching halt was the best thing that ever happened to me. First reason and foremost is because it put me back on track with him. And when I
Mm.
was ready, I got out 34 months sooner than I was supposed to. That's unheard of. You hear of
Hmm.
stories like that, but I'm telling you, when you put your faith in him, the one and only, and Jesus Christ is your savior, it doesn't matter. He is in charge, not you.
So you know what? I'm glad you mentioned that. So now let's fast forward to the end of 2019 and the whole year of 2020. Let's
Absolutely.
parallel your physical incarceration with our mental, physical, and I'm sure spiritual incarceration that we've been forced into as a result of this pandemic. This
Absolutely.
pandemic didn't happen for no reason. I
Mhm.
believe it also happened so that we were forced to reflect and look at ourselves and look at our purposes and look at why we're actually here. And because a lot of us were still living an average lifestyle, getting up, going to work, coming home, going to bed, doing all those average things. And we also lived in the world of instant gratification where we had to do it now, now,
Mhm.
now, now, now. That something
Something had to give.
universal,
Mhm.
something out of epic proportions had to happen to stop all of us at the same time so that we could be at this moment in time, so that you could see what was really happening in your life, so that you could explore all the things that was left for you to do in your life. Many people found their purpose this year.
I would agree.
Many
Or they lost
people,
themselves to something that they
yeah,
probably need to take another reflection at themselves and see what's going on.
yeah. Many people, because they couldn't do or couldn't go, had to really go stand in front of the mirror. You had to stand in the mirror and look at yourself. You had to stand in the mirror and look at your relationship, because now
Yeah.
this person that you're living with, that you get to escape from 8 hours to 10 hours a day,
Or right
is
up
with
under
you
my foot.
right under your nose. So a lot of things that had been hidden in the dark came to light, and some for the good and some for the even better. And I think it's very much like an incarceration that needed to take place for the world in order for us to move forward.
Kind
And
of a
because of
reset.
that, reset, refocus, renew, and reshape our lives.
And I tell you, if you can't refocus after this, you probably need to really take a deep, long look at yourself
Right,
inwardly, the mind,
right.
the heart, the soul, and see what's going on because
Yeah.
you should have been able to make some necessary changes.
Yes, and hopefully people have taken advantage of this fork in the road, as I talked about earlier. Now, this is your defining moment. What are you going to do to make an unstoppable decision now that you have been brought to this defining moment? The option is yours. The thing I love about the ABLE in Unstoppable, Brenda, is because each and every one of us are able to make a decision. Each and one of us are able to go in a new direction. Each and every one of us have the ability to change our lives, no matter what our life is like right now.
Absolutely. Now you do coaching. Tell me a little bit about what that entails, what type of clients, how
Okay.
long you've been doing it. Tell us a little bit about what your brand and your services, other than I know your name, but
Okay. So
obviously your brand.
Unstoppable Coaching is an accountability coaching firm. You don't come to us if you're not ready to be held accountable to
That's
living your
wonderful.
life on the next level. Many people have an ideal of what they want to do, Brenda. Some people have already implemented some steps of what they want to do. But then there are those people where life gets in the way. And then the things that you implemented, you don't follow up on, or the things that you said you were going to do, you don't do, or now's not the right time to do it because my kids are about to go to college, or well, now it's not the right time for it because now
Excuses,
my kids.
excuses.
Excuses, reasons that you're not ready, when it really boils down to, are you ready to be accountable for living the life, watch me now, that you were created to live? Not the life that you want to live, not the life that you see Susie living, not the life that you see Doug living, but the life that you were created to live. Brenda, many people can't find their purpose because they're too busy trying to walk in somebody else's shoes.
That's true.
I, you know,
Being
I
somebody that somebody else wants you to be.
absolutely. When I grew up, I said, my aunt thought I was going to be a lawyer. She said, baby, you're going to be the next Thurgood Marshall. When I was growing up, my grandmother, she loved John Wayne and she loved the Duke, and my nickname was Duke. And so you're going to grow up and you're going to be a famous actor. And as I grew up, those were the images in my mind. So I did school plays because one day I'm going to be an actor. My grandma said so. And then I studied real hard in school because my aunt said one day you're going to be the next Thurgood Marshall. So I just had to study. But then I got to an adulthood and I wasn't interested in acting. And I sure wasn't interested in sitting in a black robe in front of anybody. So I had to find what I was created to do, what my purpose was. And that's, once I did that, I wanted to share that with everybody else. So that's what I do. I hold you accountable to living the life you were created to live. And I don't do the work for you, but I will work alongside of you, Brenda. I'll be your cheerleader when you have success, but I'll also be the person to kick you in your assets when you're not doing what you said you wanted to do so that you could be the person you want to be.
I've always been a firm believer on your mindset. It is a mindset. And if you believe you can do it, you can achieve it. But you also have to go through the right channels to do that. And sometimes that is a coach or a mentor or somebody that's willing to listen and hear you out and give you true, honest advice about what it is you're trying to do.
True, because you could look at yourself in the mirror and you could tell yourself all these things you're going to do and all these great accomplishments you're going to make. But the only person that sees you say those things is who? You. But when I tell you, Brenda, that I'm going to be the greatest speaker to ever walk the earth, then now I've put it out to the universe. And the universe is listening, and the universe will call you on your stuff.
Yeah, it does.
The universe will check in with you. Remember when you said, how's that working out for you?
Well, you know what's interesting in my line of work? Because it's my line of work's really kind of come to a halt temporarily. I always said I was going to speak. I've always loved speaking. I always did. With our companies, I had to speak in front of the groups to get the business, to sell the bid, to win the contract. But my job didn't allow me to do what I really wanted to do. Yeah. So being incarcerated stripped all that from me. It took away what was still hurting me and holding me back. And it cleaned that slate for me to be able to move on and do the things that I want to do and to share my story so that others can do things that they want to do, regardless of your past. If you've got the mindset that you're going to change and you're going to be happy and you're going to like what you're doing, then it's all possible.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. You know, I have a phrase that I'm using now that if you're here still, there's a purpose still. Because, absolutely. You know, at the time of this recording, there are over 250,000 Americans that are no longer here to see this recording or listen to this recording. So think about that. Mm-hmm. You are still here. And if you're here still, then that is assurance that there's a purpose still for you being here. So take this time. Yes. Take this time to really tap in. Take this time of isolation. Take this time of shutdown. Take this time of lockdown to really focus on the things that you want to do and the things that you may have never done because you said you didn't have time. Exactly.
I get it. I worked 18-hour days, it felt like, and I was miserable. Mm-hmm. Missed time with family. And if I made the time, then I was getting 2 hours sleep a night. And it just was, I was raising 4 babies and it was tough. And, I think back and I'm like, you were stupid.
Yeah. We lie to ourselves and say that we don't have time. It's not that you don't have time because we all have the same amount of time.
Priorities.
It's where you put the time. Are you wasting time or are you making the time count, as our friend Jeff Markinet says? So,
which is important.
And I think God, being the funny God that he is, heard this excuse from so many people, so many different times. People were saying they didn't have time. He was like, all right, well, let me just shut the whole thing down.
That's what he did.
And that's what he did. Now, how's that time working out for you?
Yep. And you know what's funny is everybody said, oh, after the election. Well, what's going on in the rest of the world because they don't have their elections.
Absolutely.
It's not a
They're
United
just looking
States
at
thing.
our
It is a
crazy election.
world thing.
Yes. Yes.
So you're
Right.
an author. Tell me about your books.
So I am a four-time author. My very first book was entitled You Are Unstoppable, 11 Key Attributes to Living an Unstoppable Life. You can find it on my website at unstoppablecoaching.com. And that actually came out of my defining moment, Brenda. That was what, after I had that conversation with God, the second thing he said was start writing about it. So I
Yeah,
would
I
just
always said I
journal.
was going to write a book too, but I let time
Yeah.
consume me. Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing about it is I had no intentions of writing a book, Brenda. It was just my own personal journal. It was just my thoughts, and this is what unstoppable meant to me. And I love breaking words into acronyms. So I just took every letter and I took it one by one. And what's one thing about being unstoppable? Where in the U, it's like I have an unwilling desire to fail. Many people say you shouldn't want to fail. But I've learned over the years that failure is not fatal.
That's true.
It is,
It's refining.
it's refining, and it also is the lessons that you learn as a result of failure. You know, you've probably heard this story, but there was this these two scientists that wanted to create the perfect degreaser because they knew that households all across the world were having problem breaking down the grease. So they went into the lab and they started putting together formulas, and the first formula didn't work. Second formula didn't work, but they kept going. 10th formula didn't work. 20th formula didn't work. 50th formula didn't work, Brenda. And by that time, us average people, we would have gave up. But
Mm-hmm.
these
Most would.
scientists knew that there was something more they had to do. So they kept going. They did it 100 times and they failed. They did it 200 times and they failed, Brenda. They did it 300 times, Brenda. They failed, but they kept going. They even got up to 400 times without success. And they were scratching their head and why can't they get this right? And they were like, there's just something that is missing. But they didn't give up. 401, 402, 403, 404, 405, 406. Still couldn't get it right. 407, you just knew they were going to end then. 408 had to be the end of it. It's not possible. But then there was 409, and they had a breakthrough. And they found the perfect combination of byproducts and formulas that worked to create this degreaser that has worked for decades and in millions of homes around the globe. You know the name of that product, Brenda?
409.
Formula 409.
And what could you imagine if they just gave up?
Can you imagine? Can you imagine what your kitchen would look like right now if they had given up?
Yes. And they
And
would have lost all the money from their research and their trial and
yes,
errors and everything else. And
yes,
they kept going. What determination?
yes. Determination,
Their vision. Mm-hmm.
investment of time as well as money. Are
Absolutely.
you willing to invest 409 times on your success?
You
Are
should.
you willing to fail even 4 times, much less 400 times?
Well,
Are
I
you
have
willing
failed
to?
numerous times and I'm still kicking.
Yes, yes. And your audience, my question to you, are you willing to invest $40? Are you willing to invest $400? Are you willing to invest $409, $4,009, $49,000? Are you willing to invest in yourself to the level that you expect to get a return? If you are, then you are ready to be accountable to making your dreams come true and living the life you were created to live.
So you
Then
have
we're ready
different
to talk
budget
to you.
options then for your coaching.
Absolutely. We have different programs that are custom made to our clients to help them with whatever it is that they're trying to be held accountable for at that time. It may be a a weight loss program that they're trying to be held accountable for. It may be accountable to becoming a speaker, just like you. It may be held accountable to writing that book or just getting that message out to the masses. We have experience. I have experience in all of those things. And the reason I'm able to help you is because I once was you. I once thought I wasn't able to do it, but I did. And here's the humbling thing. If I'm able to do it, then you can too.
Absolutely. I think some of us think that we're not good enough or I'm not like him, but you don't have to be like somebody else. You need to be yourself, and you
Absolutely.
need to learn to know what you are capable of doing and what your talents are and what your gifts are. And don't worry about what other people think about it. You move forward with what you know how to do. And that's been
Absolutely.
something that I have had to take my own advice to, especially coming out of the embarrassing situation of being incarcerated and trying to feel like I had something to prove. And I don't have anything to prove to anybody but myself and to my Lord. And when that happens, then amazing things can happen.
Yes, I got some sage advice from the phenomenal Les Brown once. When he was in first starting out in the speaker game, people were trying to tell him to be like Zig Ziglar or to be like this other person or to be
Be
like the other
you.
great speakers of that time. And he said, you know what? I had to tell myself that I don't want to be the next Zig Ziglar. I want to be the best Les Brown.
Absolutely. And he's a
And that's the message.
phenomenal speaker.
Yes, there are a lot of people who do what you do, Brenda. There are a lot of people that do what I do, but nobody can do what I do like I do.
That's right.
And
And
that
you
may
have
not
your own
resonate with
following.
everybody.
Yeah, everybody has a different, a like and dislike for things, and you just don't know. Maybe you're going to be the one they love.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
And I hope you are.
Well, thank you so much for doing the show. I appreciate it. And stay tuned to hear more about this event. We're going to be doing some little teasers between now and May about what we're going to be talking about. But also stay tuned. He's got a good lineup for me of people who have been incarcerated and changed their life. And we're going to be interviewing them hopefully in the next month to come. And thank you again, Terrance. It was a pleasure.
It was an honor, Brenda. Thank you, and continue to do what you're doing. And hey, as I always say, no matter where you are in the world today, don't make it a great day. Go out and tell your story and make it an unstoppable day.
Absolutely. Thank you.